Hi, guys. This is Bruce Rainey, and this is the Build Baby Build Show. What do we focus on building? We build you, we build your business, and most importantly, we help you build your real estate empire in the commercial real estate world. Today's going to be a twofer for you guys because I was talking a lot about how you go find deals and qualify deals, and I spent more time talking about kind of the finding side of that. I wanted to get a little bit more into the qualification of deals. One of the things I want to do with this show is keep things basic. I want to help people who are wanting to get started in the business and really help you understand it's not as difficult and it's not as scary as you think it is. Sure, some of these properties can be expensive, but this is a business. Every property you buy, think of it that you're just buying a business. This business has a certain amount of expenses, has a certain amount of income. And like any other business, the income needs to be more than the expenses if you want it to be successful. So, in the world of qualifying, there's a couple of different parts of that. Every deal is going to need to pencil out. We call it penciling out, meaning it's got to make some money. You have a certain amount of money you're trying to make on that deal, on any deal, on every deal, and you need to know what that is. So when you're qualifying a deal, very basic things, you need to know your numbers. You need to know what it's making, you need to know what it's going to cost you all the way through the line. Not just what is it making rent, but how much is insurance, how much is it going to be. I know what it is because they're going to probably tell you in their sales documents, but you need to dig in and find out what you're going to pay for all of these things in the list. So you have to know your numbers. Now this won't be a show about digging in and figuring out what your numbers are, but you need to know what they are. The second thing you need to know is what are your qualifiers, meaning what do your deals have to have and what can your deals absolutely not have. I have criteria that I want in a property. I have a couple of must haves and I have a couple of cannot haves. There are things I just don't want to own and just don't want to buy. Part of that's from experience. Now, I've have almost 30 years of being a general contractor, and I've worked for a lot of clients and developers that have been around a long time. And I've seen their successes and I've seen their failures, and I've been a part of some of those as investors. So I just have a personal preference. For example, people ask me why I don't invest in residential real estate. To me, it's just not a product that I'm interested in. Early on in my career, I owned residential property. Didn't make really any money. I worked really hard and didn't make much for it. The only place I made money was when I did sell it, and I made a profit. I was happy at the moment I sold it, kind of like selling a boat. What are the two best times that you of owning a boat? It's the day you buy it and the day you sell it. I remembered working on those properties a lot, and it just wasn't for me. However, I have friends that own hundreds, if not thousands, of houses, very wealthy, make a lot of money, and they would laugh at me for even telling you that I don't want to invest in residential real estate. So it's about understanding what it is that you want and what it is that you don't want. There are pros and cons to all of it. You can be successful with all of it. So, for example, I've said in previous messages and videos things that I absolutely want in a property. Now, this is when I'm talking about, let's say, an existing building, because my primary focus is buying existing buildings that are in disrepair, that need love, right? These are buildings that I can go in as a contractor, breathe some life back into these properties, reposition them, and hold them for the long term. That is my model. That's the way I like to buy property. Doesn't mean it's the only way I buy property. But with my funds and syndications and when I bring in investors, those are the kind of things I'm looking for. I tell them, hey, I'm looking for something that I'm going to buy it, I'm going to fix it, and then we're going to hold it, and it's going to cash flow for us for a long, long time. That is attractive to me. When I'm looking for properties within that criteria, there are things I want. I want multi tenant buildings. I like office and I like retail. I like them to be in a good location. I kind of live on that model of I'm looking for the ugliest building on the block. Something that, frankly, somebody maybe has moved out of town. Maybe there's a divorce or a death or some reason that somebody's just not taking care of the property. And it's usually a pretty good sign that maybe they don't care that much about it and they want to get rid of it. I'll come in, I make an offer, very frequently an unsolicited offer, and we work out a deal to get the deal done. So in that vein of I want multi-tenant buildings, what do I not want? I don't want a single tenant building. The reason I don't want that is if that tenant moves out, I have 100% vacancy, and I can't tell you how fast I'll release that property. I like having a little bit of cash flow coming in, even if it's not enough to cover everything. I want to know that I have something coming in to keep that building alive, keep traffic moving. It's easier to lease when there's other tenants in the building. There's lots of good reasons to have life in and around a property. There are certain properties that I really don't want. I don't really like having restaurants in my buildings. Restaurants are hard on buildings. Mopping, wet floors, grease in the air, odors, you name it. Now, granted, there's a lot of different types of restaurants, but I can tell you, 10 years later, when you do a renovation on an old restaurant, you'd be amazed at what it does to the interiors of walls and the even leaks around any penetrations in the foundation and what it does to it. They just wear out buildings. Not to mention that's a lot of traffic. You know, restaurants, if they're successful, have a couple hundred people a day walking through their front door. And it's just hard on a building versus a smaller user who may just not have that much traffic. Again, restaurants are great tenants. They pay well. They usually have high rents. They have high volumes. They bring a lot of traffic into a property. So there's lots of great reasons to have them there. And they're in many, many buildings. I have buildings with restaurants in it, but if I have my preference, I'm not going after a lot of properties that have restaurants. So these are things that you will learn over time that maybe you don't want. I'll give you another quick example that just popped up for me is parking. One thing you will learn in the commercial realm is parking is very important. Doesn't matter how great your building is, how sexy it looks, or anything else. If people can't find a place to park when they come to work, they don't want to be a part of that building. Now, when you're on the inner core of a major city, and I'm in the Austin area, there's a lot of places where parking is a big premium. And it's a problem. There's beautiful buildings that sit empty, frankly, because they've got 4 parking spaces and 18 offices. And people just don't want to fight and deal with that all day long. So, you think about how do people get in and out of this building? How will their customers also get in? You might have parking for the employees. Do you have parking for customers? The tenants think about that as well. What is it going to take to keep maintaining that building for me? I plan on basically renovating to brand new level. So I put all of that maintenance up front when I do that. I have a skill set as a general contractor. When I look at that doesn't faze me. It doesn't scare me on what needs to be done or how to get it done. It's something I've been doing my entire life. So that's an advantage for me. You might be looking for maybe a little smaller profit margin, but knowing you're buying a newer property, something that you're not going to have to go through all that with. So sit down and think about what it is you want. Again, start processing deals. Talk to your brokers. Build a network. Start communicating with people. Get online. LoopNet and Crexi, Crexi, are probably the 2 best places. If you Google right now, commercial real estate, Austin, Texas, for sale, you're probably going to get LoopNet and Crexi to pop up pretty quick. There's other places to search. Those have been scoured through pretty much by everybody who's looking for real estate. But it'll give you a chance to kind of sort and look, and you'll start thinking, hey, I like this, I don't like that. There's certain types of tenancies that I don't want. So in the world of commercial, it really is almost anything that's not a residential building. Even multifamily, like apartment complexes, falls within the commercial realm. Again, it's not the product type that I go chasing after, but everything that's not a house, basically, or under, 3 or 4 units, I believe, is considered commercial. That everything above that. So you have a lot of options. You will find in your search there's things that just don't interest you. Maybe there's types of businesses that you don't want. So think about that when you are qualifying. Over time, you're going to narrow that list down. It's going to get really focused. And when you communicate with brokers and people in your network, you're going to get that message through really quickly. It's going to make a lot of sense, and you're going to get better and better opportunities to look at. I hope this helps. I'll see you again soon.